In this WrestleTalk news are more WWE cuts coming soon, Keith Lee backstage heat, Ricochet pew pew shoots on Survivor Series booking, and more. Subscribe to this channel and enable notifications to always on, because we're so close to 813,000 subscribers. And you know what? It would mean the world to me if we got there. I'll even do the SmackDown thing if we get there by the end of the week. How's that for a promise?
Support WrestleTalk!
Last Thursday, WWE released 18 members of its roster, from NXT stars like Ember Moon and Frankie Monet to huge main roster names like Keith Lee, Nia Jax, and Karrion Kross. Though I'm not sure the two are connected, WWE also announced on the same day Q3 revenue increases from $221.5 million to $255.8 million. You know, it's sometimes hard to work out why some people just don't like WWE. No, you're right, Shane Helms, it's those wrestling journalists writing mean things that are to blame. According to Dave Meltzer, however, there could have been more names released. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer noted that 10 more names were in strong discussion for the cut, mostly NXT veterans in their 30s who've not been featured on TV recently. Meltzer didn't say all 10 names, but did reveal 2 of them, being Danny Burch and Timothy Thatcher. Burch last wrestled on August 24th, and his tag partner Oney Lorcan was part of this round of cuts. Thatcher's last appearance was at that same taping, losing to the recently drafted to SmackDown star Ridge Holland. It was announced on that show that Thatcher was now out indefinitely. And it's crucial to note that both of those appearances were before the NXT 2.0 rebrand. Timothy Thatcher is 38, while Burch is 39, both of which fall outside of NXT 2.0's focus on younger talent and not those who built their names on the independent circuit. The reason why they were hired in the first place was that the plan for NXT a few years back was to be a touring brand. So you bring in top names from around the world to sell tickets. But that's not the case anymore, with NXT going back to being a developmental brand for the main roster. It's being reported that WWE are also aware that their median viewer age is 55, a lot older than AEW's, so they want to focus on wrestlers in their 20s to appeal to those teenagers. Sean Rossap of Fightful Select noted that Jeet Rama was cut because he'll be 41 in a couple of months, as well as there were no creative plans for him, so he was seen as expendable. And while the age factor is true for men, it's a new directive for female talent. With Meltzer writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the new directives on hiring new women is the recommendations are 25 or younger, which is why Frankie Monet and Ember Moon were cut. Monet, who's gone back to her independent name of Taya Valkyrie, confirmed as much on Twitter, writing, "I just turned 38. I've been ashamed to even speak about my age until today. 38 is not old, especially when you're a man. Age should never be an issue, and I'm sick of people using that as a reason that someone should lose their job." But you're right, Hurricane, it's those damn wrestling journalists who are bad. What do you think of WWE's new hiring mandate and their direction on wrestlers' ages? Let me know in the comments down below, as I'll be replying to people for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live, from my desk in my home office next door. There's no word though on why Burch, Thatcher, or the other 8 or so reported names were kept on NXT's roster. But Meltzer did add, when I saw the list of people that were originally looking at being cut and were not, a lot of those people are probably, I can see them being cut. But what about names like current NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa, I hear you ask? Thanks for your support on Patreon. He's a sexy man. Sexy man. Not an Andrew Gross man. And he's no Jackass Dano. Get your own shout out in the WrestleTalk news over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Tommaso Ciampa, who successfully defended his NXT championship against the much younger and much more 2.0 star Bron Breakker, is 36 and also falls outside of what WWE's newest idea of what NXT is. Meltzer explains, however, that names like Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, who we'll speak about a little bit more in a moment, are considered legacy stars, and they want to keep them on television to ease the transition into this new generation, which could also be the same rule for Kyle O'Reilly, whose contract is up with WWE this coming December. Also up in December is the contract for Johnny Gargano. And I'm sure this is a total coincidence, but both men wrestled a dark match before this Friday's SmackDown, which Gargano won. You know, the same way it was a coincidence that WWE suddenly had plans to bring Adam Cole up to the main roster when his contract was expiring and there were rumors of him going to AEW. Or how it was a coincidence that Cesaro's WWE contract was coming up, so he was put into a Universal Championship feud with Roman Reigns. It's just funny how these coincidences keep happening. Speaking of coincidences, of the names released last Thursday, the one that seemed to jump out to a lot of fans was Keith Lee. Probably because he's an incredible, unique talent with limitless potential, pun very much intended, that WWE completely fumbled and dropped the ball with. Lee was brought up to the main roster last August, and despite being Randy Orton clean in his first pay-per-view match, there was always something a little off about his push. They put him in a t-shirt, a sign that Vince McMahon didn't like the way his body looked. They changed his unique music. They had him talk less, despite being an amazing promo. They sent him back to developmental to learn to work like a big guy. They wanted to give him a manager so he would talk even less. They had him lose his first match back in his home state, gave him a gimmick that wasn't his idea, took away everything special about him, and then released him. As Tom Campbell eloquently put it on Twitter, like buying a toaster and being annoyed that it won't dry your hands, to which New Japan's Kevin Kelly added, and being mad at that toaster for making toast. But guys, it wasn't that WWE didn't know how to make Keith Lee a star, even though every other promotion he's ever worked for has managed to do it. It's because of everyone's new favorite buzzword, attitude problems. PW Torch's Wade Keller is reporting that he was told by people within WWE that Lee had a negative attitude backstage, and even those in the company who were rooting for him to succeed were becoming frustrated with him. According to Keller, this was mostly when Lee was asked to lose matches, which reportedly also happened in NXT. It's funny how these reports always come out about wrestlers that fans really like and get angry at WWE for releasing them and dropping the ball with them. You know, like Bray Wyatt, Jon Moxley, and CM Punk. But no, you're right, Sugar Shane Helms, it's the wrestling journalists who are the problem. Journalists like Sean Ross Sapp, who replied to the story saying, attitude issues are the new thing when someone calls out dog creative and bad booking. Over on Fightful Select, Sapp is also reporting that both Oney Lorcan and Gran Metalik actually asked for their releases, though Lorcan asked for his in the fall of 2019. Other talent, like Nia Jax apparently, were reportedly released because they were unvaccinated against COVID-19, which is a problem when WWE wants to tour and certain countries and buildings in the States have vaccine mandates. According to Dave Meltzer, a dozen of the 18 names released last Thursday were unvaccinated, which is very much a part of the reason they were let go. This becomes a bit of a sticky situation, however, where Meltzer added, WWE never told anyone to get vaccinated. Meltzer adds that it was understood that WWE wanted their talent to get the vaccination, but were never told that if they didn't, they could lose their jobs. The released names could always find work in All Elite Wrestling, of course, and Tony Khan told PW Torch that he sees a few names in this round of releases that he would like to sign. WWE clearly woke up on Sunday and thought, ruh-roh, it's Survivor Series in 2 weeks' time and we haven't announced a single thing for the show. And so with as much thought of, oh let's say Mo, WWE have announced the Raw and SmackDown teams for Survivor Series via Twitter. Representing the SmackDown women's team are Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi Not Blackheart, Natalya, and Aaliyah, 40% of which were on Raw just 3 weeks ago. The men's SmackDown team has Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Woods, Sami Zayn, and Happy Corbin, 60% of which were on Raw just 3 weeks ago. The Raw women's team has Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina, 80% of which were on SmackDown just 3 weeks ago. And the men's Raw team is Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Rey, and Dominic Mysterio, 100% of which were on SmackDown just 3 weeks ago. Gee, I wonder why no one gets invested in Survivor Series brand warfare matches. You're right, Gregory Helms. It's those pesky wrestling journalists that are to blame. Kingwood is also seemingly a bit perplexed by this year's Survivor Series, replying to WWE on Fox's Twitter account, "What do we get when we win?" When Rollins responded that he's not going to win anyway, Woods replied, aka, "You also have no idea what the winning team gets." Someone who's a bit more pew-pew shoot upset about the situation though appears to be Ricochet. The pew-pew was a reference to Ricochet, who tweeted, "What happened to qualifying matches? Thinking emoji." I mean, let's be honest, mate, you weren't going to win one anyway. Ricochet recently got himself into some Twitter drama for seemingly speaking out against the company, liking a tweet making fun of the finish to Balor vs. Reigns at Extreme Rules, and arguing with a fan on Twitter saying that no one was as good as him in WWE when it comes to high-flying wrestling. Tweet that he ended up deleting. The reason for the lack of Survivor Series build, apparently, is because WWE were heavily promoting Crown Jewel. And then with the draft taking effect after that show, they've had to use the last 2 weeks of Raw and SmackDown to build the new feuds and get over the new storylines. Which begs the question, why not just do the draft after Survivor Series? Oh no, you're absolutely right, Shane Helms. It's the wrestling journalists who are to blame! It's finally happening. After 2 years, we're getting Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship on pay-per-view at Full Gear 2021. The man who lacks confidence versus the man who probably has too much of it. It's sure to be an absolute classic show for the history books. But what's actually going to happen come November 13th?